all of you who listen to Submersion and own an Android device, go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android device. I personally use the app and I love it. I can search for the podcast I want to listen to, select it as a favorite, and have it just a click away. Make sure to select Submersion as a favorite so you don't miss any of our new episodes. Again, the app is the Podcast Republic app, available on Android devices.
Okay, boys. Time to load and lock and rock and roll.
Episode 84.
Woo!
And man, I think that said it all right there. It's time to load and lock and rock and roll.
That's that saying that we all say, load and lock. It's got to get going.
It's a real saying.
Yeah, it's a saying that we definitely do. And that voice you hear on the other side, who's that?
Hello, Governor. Pip, pip, Cheerios. It's Patrick
there we go.
from Jolly Old London.
He's got his catchphrase. He's super sleepy. Just classic Patrick over there.
I'm curled up in my big dog bed, super sleepy.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's got his sleeping cap on. He's got a little feather above his mouth as he
Yep. I have
my
Scrooge stocking cap on. I have my little tiny, well, we don't have, electric lighting in the UK yet. So I have my little candle on a little thing. Yeah.
Oh, wow. There you go. One of those little handle holders with the ring on it and all that type of stuff.
Yes. My computer and microphone are running off of whale oil, I think. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, but not like the best. It's not sperm whale, sperm whales, because England, they weren't so into that. They were doing like those right whales. Terrible, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
This is welcome to Whalecast. We're talking all things whales.
Yeah, man, dude, that should have been for 2010 Moby Dick.
Hey, can we just? Great. That's just basically we could just do the Free Willy series. That actually season. What do we got open?
No, that was animals. We do have a season set for that, animals, where we're going to do a whole bunch of animals, and whales definitely on the table because there's a lot of whale movies.
Okay,
there's a lot, you would say?
I would say so. How many Moby Dick adaptations have there been?
Very true.
Yeah, just take them right off.
Dozens.
Pinocchio. There's that one with Jim Krasinski. Remember where he's like trying to free a whale?
What? I don't remember that.
Yeah, it came out
a sequel to it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody mentioned this movie to me. Would this count for animal season? There's some movie called The Water Horse.
Oh,
with the Loch Ness Monster in it.
It's a fake animal.
It's like a tiny Loch Ness. Hey, fake. It's just fictional, I guess, or mythological.
Yeah, but does that count?
Or is that a whole nother season altogether? Mythological animals.
I think it's going to have to be because you think about all the snowman / Yeti / dragon stuff. I mean, there's so many movies, and they're just how do you even classify them, right?
The Clash of the Titans is that little owl. Is that a robot or an animal? What would we consider it?
What? I don't know what these words you're saying. I don't know.
This podcast is going to morph into some sort of classification, whatever.
Taxonomy. Yeah.
Yes. Of like movies. Jesus Christ.
What began as an innocent conversation among friends would soon spiral out of control and later be referred to by future generations as the eighth wonder of the modern world. Mac East Studios takes you on the journey of your lifetime as your captains Alex the Mustard Man, the artist formerly known as Brom, Jamie the Ointment, Kyle El Capitan, and Zach the Backbone present Submersion.
Yeah, I did kind of miss. I missed the alarm going off.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Patrick. It sounded like you were really losing it right there. It was like we better set this alarm off.
I was losing the thread. It's true.
Yeah. No, sometimes it's good to lose a thread. Sometimes it's not. That seemed to be a moment where it was appropriate to set an alarm off to just let us know, get back on track, get talking about the next movie in the Jamie movie month. And I'm really stretching this guy. I'm really like stretching it real long, as you'll see for next week. But this week I did a little movie for myself because I had previously watched, kind of in preparation for the idea of potentially doing this one, the first in the series, but this is a series of films, action films from the 90s into the 2000s, mostly TV movies. And I knew it was just hilarious that two of the films in the franchise in a row, both were subcentric. So I was pretty excited about that. And so, yeah, I watched the first one in the series a while back, loved it so much that I knew it had to be part of the Jamie movie month. And so, Patrick, what did we watch this week?
It's a little movie called Operation Delta Force 2, Mayday.
Mayday. So, Kyle, just a quick question. Did you watch the first one in preparation for this?
I did not, but I really, after watching the second one,
mistake,
I was like, wow, I should have watched the first one. And so you said most of these were TV movies. Which one is not?
I believe the last two were direct-to-video, not actually aired on television. But I think the first three were all TV movies. It's either the first two or first three were all TV movies.
It's the first three.
Yeah.
Now, I mean,
I'm saying
I think that's right.
No,
I think that's right because I think even as I was watching the third one, I thought, wait, did they really put this on TV? But that's a little spoiler alert for when we talk about the third one. But yeah, the first two are pretty obviously like high enough quality where to me it seems clear that yes, this would be eligible for TV. And wouldn't be embarrassing to air on TV. If I had stumbled upon Operation Delta Force or Operation Delta Force 2, I would have been like, oh, jolly good. Like, I'm quite happy with this. I will watch these explosions. Spoiler alert.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you didn't watch it, Patrick. You did watch the first one, though.
I did watch the first one, yes. Starring
And you
Jeff
watched
Fahey.
Yeah, you watched it way more recently than me. So can you give a short assessment before we jump into Operation Delta Force 2?
Wait, assessment as in a review or assessment as like a little plot rundown?
A little plot rundown and then just kind of your impression of it. Because I feel like our impression is going to be similar in the end.
Okay. So basically in Operation Delta Force, in the first one, Jeff Fahey leads the Delta Force, which is an elite unit of the Army, I think. And basically they're opening with training with the South African Army because there's a offshoot kind of white supremacist, like Dutch nationalistic group that they're basically fighting against. Smash cut, Ernie Hudson in Mozambique. He's basically dealing with an airborne version of Ebola that the army has created. And then that's when the white supremacist group comes in. They snatch up both the virus and the antidote for the virus, speed off. They call in the Delta Force, Jeff Fahey. He teams up with Ernie Hudson. There's some drama there.
They hate each other.
Oh, they're just really furious about it. And then it's basically at that point just a chase. They're basically chasing to the South Africans' boat, which is waiting off the coast, and ship, sorry. And it's basically just at that point just lots of explosions and lots of shooting and lots of kind of like mind games between these nationalist South Africans and the Delta Force. And guess who comes out on top? The goddamn Delta Force and Ernie Hudson.
Yeah.
Boom.
And I will say no submarines to be seen, right? You confirm that?
Yeah, no submarines. Nope. Just a ship.
But it did have a train, so eligible for season 2.
Yes.
Very prominent train in this one.
Yes, their train scene was also used in a later film as well, in that one. Yes. Fun fact.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Ernie Hudson's a pretty big actor to come in for a movie like this, I would think.
Yeah, and Jeff Fahey is even a bigger actor to get in for it.
Debatable, but all right.
Yeah, so it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember starting it and being like, actually, this is good. It's actually like a good movie. This is weird because it's good. And I enjoyed a lot of it. I mean, definitely looks cheap and stuff like that. I do love that it was set in Mozambique. Like, that's just so good. And it tickles me so much that we have a movie set in Mozambique. And I don't know. It really was great and got me excited for this one. So I knew for sure that I was going to include this. Originally, what I had in this spot was, I think it's called another one called Crash Dive, maybe. With
wait, how many Crash Dives?
Yeah,
are
with
there?
Eric Roberts, and it just looked like trash. And so I was much happier to put this one in this spot.
Good choice.
Yeah, I agree.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So, shall we get into it? Do you think, Kyle? Do you have anything else to mention about this?
This movie, along with all the rest of the Operation Delta Force movies, which I was pleasantly surprised to see, probably we've mentioned the streaming service many times on our show, not a sponsor at all, but on Tubi TV, man, for free. It's pretty nice to be able to watch them all. This is from, I saw 1997, but potentially released in 98. I wasn't really sure on it. Stars Michael McGrady as the leader of Operation Delta Force. He is Captain Skip Lang. J. Kenneth Campbell is our main protagonist with the amazing name Flint Lukash. And Dale Dye. He is the captain of the cruise ship, which we'll talk about later, and he is Captain Halsey Lang, not to be confused with the very popular musician
Halsey. Yeah, definitely not the musician Halsey. Or
it would have been amazing if this is where she got her break.
Right. The only thing I'm very glad you mentioned Lukash as the protagonist and not the antagonist, because I think a lot of people would be tempted to say, "Oh, antagonist." No. This guy is the best, and he's the protagonist of my heart. So
yes, obviously.
Right.
I know. I'm just so great with words, so I always know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, no, you did it right. That's what I'm saying. Because Lukash, as people will learn, is the greatest character in the history of submersion. I mean, he's like the lucky coin of this movie for me. Like, there's every scene. At first, I was like, this person's kind of kooky. Then, as the movie went, I was like, this person is the greatest thing that's ever happened. Like, it's just so fucking good. It
is such a cut rate Hans Gruber. Like, it's some guy wrote a character just being like Hans Gruber, but from New York. That's it.
Was he though?
Yeah.
Was he from New York? Because they said like Russian. They multiple times said Russian terrorist. Lukash.
He had like a thick New York accent, didn't he?
So did the other guy who took over the thing. They kept on calling him Russian terrorists.
I think he was just
I don't know. No one knows. He has no country. He's just a terrorist. But they come in the movie. They specifically say Russian terrorist Lukash.
That's insane.
I know,
That's
right?
so fun. I mean, I don't even. Did they ever say his name Flint ever?
No, they just called
his first name.
They called him Lukash.
Yeah, they're like Lukash. So I was looking through the credits. I'm like, all right, where's Lukash? And I was like, oh, Flint Lukash. What?
Yeah.
Why the hell would they even give him that name?
So, anyways, we open, and where are we, Patrick?
Yeah, what the fuck? Oh, we're in Iraq.
Iraq. Yeah, come on, man. They're flying
Which looks suspiciously like Southern California, but
it's true. Cool. It does look like I got a California vibe going on, but who knows about Iraq? Iraq could have a little California vibe here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, they're flying in on some helicopter. They're looking lean, mean, ready to load and lock and take out some motherfuckers. Not swear. But they're ready to crush some people. They're going in. There's like a little bit of weird dialogue here where they're talking about was it people like the government leaving people behind or something? It's very strange. There's a through line.
Really odd.
There's a through line in all these movies of them, the Operation Delta Force, almost like Rambo, where they're kind of complaining about the government a little bit and about how they love the country so much, but the government doesn't necessarily reciprocate that love all the time. And the same thing happens in the third movie, talking about the war on drugs, where they're like, oh, and they may as well just be saying oh, we're expendable, we're the expendables. But they kind of complain a little bit about, what are they going to do? Leave us behind or whatever. And anyways, what's their mission, Patrick, in this case?
They are there to, they're basically doing Rambo 2's plotline. They're there to save some pilots who are trapped behind enemy lines, and they're ready, and they're going to party. Let's party, they say.
Yeah. So they jump out, and basically they're doing a little reconnaissance, and what do they find going on there? There's just a huge number of people there. Basically, there's an alarm. They trip an alarm, and it's already gone to shit. They should leave, and they're ordered by headquarters, get out of there. We're not sure anymore that we'll be able to extract you. So you got to get out now. We're not going to lose more people to be taken captive. Skip, or is it Skip Lang? That's his first name, Skip?
Yeah.
So Skip Lang, he's like, screw that. Let's still go in. And a couple of people kind of are like, are you sure? Orders? I'm not sure about this. And he's like, we when we're on the ground, we make decisions for us. And we've seen this in other submarine movies as well, where they're sometimes when you're kind of out there and you have a moment where you have an opportunity, orders are a little hazy because you have to the people making the orders don't have all the information. You're the only one with all the information. So you do have to kind of sometimes make decisions that may seem like counter to direct orders. So anyways, he's like, I'm making a counter to the direct order. We're going in anyways. And some of the people with Operation Delta Force are like, yeah, super jazzed. And other ones are like, I'm not so sure. But everyone goes in, they start blowing things apart. I mean, this is already, I was sitting there being like, wait, this is a TV movie? The explosions, actually way bigger, way more of this kind of stuff than the first movie. The first movie was pretty much smaller in this regard. This one kind of blew it out.
Yeah, the explosion budget must have been off the chain. No wonder they couldn't hire Jeff Fahey, a superstar all-star, Jeff Fahey back to the franchise.
They took all that Fahey money and threw it straight into explosions.
Right into explosions. Good choice.
Yeah, and Ernie Hudson money and threw it into even more explosions.
Yeah. They also had a really good number of like military vehicles and all that stuff that were, I mean, tanks. They had a helicopter, which when they blew that up, it was kind of funny to watch.
Because it's one of those classic things where it falls directly out of the sky or whatever. Yeah,
it falls, and every time they shot it, they would just like zoom into this piece of metal that was painted like the helicopter and just like shoot another bullet hole in it. Or like, yeah, you're not really shooting the helicopter. Right. And it was a very impressive amount of explosions. And as you'd mentioned, this is on TV. These guys are dropping F-bombs like everywhere. So I was like, what channel was this movie on?
Well, so I think this one, because you haven't watched the third one, I guess, right?
Correct.
So the third one, we get the TV edit on Tubi TV.
Oh, right, we do. Yes, that's right.
And so they have all the cover. But it's true. All of these movies seem to have been shot with F-bombs everywhere. I guess I'm not sure whether they just weren't sure or what they wanted to do, whether they're going to sell it to TV or release it on video or whatever. But yeah, then you clearly see that how much dubbing they had to do for the third one, and it's nuts. So I'm sure on TV, the version of this was actually kind of stupid. Probably sounded like real dumb because of how many F-bombs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so anyways, they kind of like, they do their thing, get the operation, they get the people out. They're kind of running around. One of the guys who was actually the one kind of grumbling about stuff.
Yeah.
He stays behind and he is the one kind of defending everything. He's like laying cover with a big gun and actually gets shot. And so they get up in the helicopter and they're like, oh, we can't get him back. Like he's hurt, injured. He's probably going to die. We got to leave him. And Skip Lang's like, not on my watch. Like we are going down there. We're going to get him. No man left behind. Delta Force forever. And then he showed his tattoo. He pulled up his bicep and showed a tattoo, and it said Operation Delta Force Forever. And I was like, whoa, that shows
ODFF.
Commitment. Yeah, and he had a friendship bracelet and all kinds of stuff to tell them like just how close they were as like a group.
Yeah, how dumb do you think that helicopter pilot felt when the guy came in and he had just like a flesh wound to the shoulder? It was just like a minor wound to the shoulder, and he's like, "No, I'm good actually."
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no way we could possibly save him.
He's clearly dead. Look at him. He's like, "No, I'm fine actually. I'm still
like
shooting
waving,
this gun."
Hey, guys, I'm right here. He can't make it, but we're like right here, right on top of him.
So, anyways, they head back to the United States with everyone.
Wait. You missed the best line, which is, "Oh man, you guys are fucking great."
Was that from the pilot?
One of the prisoners said that.
Oh yeah, well, it's true. I guess I didn't hear it because I was saying it at the same time, so I just thought it was me saying it.
Yeah, probably.
And yeah, he's just saying the truth. So they head back to the United States. At this point, we start to get like a bunch of intercuts. It's actually a little bit strange because the scenes with the Delta Force would have taken like an hour, whereas everything else seems to be taking a much longer time. So it's kind of hilarious in that regard. But Delta Force is being called in for a little military tribunal of sorts. Yeah. They're being questioned about Captain Lang's kind of countermanding of the orders at the moment. And the guy who was kind of grumbling was like, "Don't worry, man, we got your back. You like saved my life, and I love you, and we all love you." And they all like bro hugged a bunch, and then they went in for the hearing or whatever. And we do get one scene of the hearing of one guy just being a complete dick to this tribe. It's kind of hilarious. This court martial, these people are about to like consider court martialing like Captain Lang, and he's like, "Says, do you have a family?" And I'd just be like, if I was the people on the thing, I'd be like, that's not pertinent to this, so no need to answer it. We're asking the questions, actually.
And so I would just sit there silently and then write insubordination. Yeah, exactly. I'm adding that charge to this one. To you.
I just like couldn't. It was really funny to see it. I was just like, wow, that's like a lot of balls right here on this guy, because he basically is like, he knew that there was like these people had a family and it's all about family and you got to like save people for their family. Do you have a family? Like, fuck you. Like to people who like run the military, they're like generals. And he's just like, fuck you. Do you have a family? I bet you don't have a family. I bet they left. I bet they hate you. And he's like, it's true. They left and they hate me.
You guys go free, man.
Yeah. So I was like, whoa, they're probably, screwing themselves pretty hard right here because they're all probably going to get court-martialed. At the same time, we see, unbeknownst to us, Captain Lang's daddy-o
Oh yeah, and he's the captain of a cruise ship.
Yeah, and he's there with his wife and the daughter, and we get some. I mean, because so basically they're going to dinner. Captain Lang is like, hey, I'm gonna go check on some stuff. He's gonna go up to the bridge real quick and just make sure everything's fine. But his wife and his daughter are going to go down to dinner, and he's like, I'll meet you down there. We get some truly bizarre scenes. Yes. On this cruise ship. There's no other way to describe it. There's like everything around this, like when they're in Iraq and when they're actually, Captain Lang comes back in for like the mission or whatever, it's like a normal action film. We have a long stretch here where there's a lot to chew on, but I'm not sure it tastes good. It's real weird. Like it's super strange.
It's so like, it's like watching like a television film from the 60s where it's like, it's kind of losing the thread. They don't quite know how to construct like plot lines, and it's kind of like all the garbage they kind of throw away. Or it's like watching like a 40-minute Murder, She Wrote, where they're kind of meandering around and you're like, I don't get what they're doing right here, but I guess we're going to get to the murder eventually. And it was exactly like that. They walk in, there's like a big sign for Jim Beam. They're clearly not a cruise ship. They're all being like, I love the ocean. And it's just like these very strange conversations.
Someone comes up and is like, hey, can I take you to the table? They're like, where's Jim? And he's like, oh, he had a little, and he like pats his heart as if the guy had a fucking heart attack. And the people are like, oh, that's too bad. Okay. Take us to our table. I was like, the person that you literally were like, oh, where is he? They're like, oh, he had a heart attack. And you're like, oh, that's too bad.
Massive heart attack. He died last night.
It's too bad. I was like, these
I'm not going to let that ruin my dinner.
These reactions aren't human. Like, these are not how a human being would react. Like, they're all like weird alien ones. Because then they sit down and they're talking to this old couple. And the old couple, first of all, the guy looks like he's 1,000. And basically, like, you know, what's weird is he then shows up in the third movie. So he continues to act like he's in the third movie.
Whoa, he's a Holocaust survivor who gets killed, right?
Right, but then he plays the head of the mob in the third one. But we'll get to that for that episode. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, like he already was like 1,000 at this point. He was 1,002 when they shot the next one. So like he can barely act. Like he looks over, they're like, they're playing your favorite song, whatever. And or Hiram, I think was his name, right? Hiram,
something like that.
And he like turns his head and he's like, oh. Did they find this person on the street or something? What's going on?
You got what was happening in that scene, right? It was basically like all the people who are terrorists in reality are screwing up everything. They're giving them 2 breads. They're playing the songs all crappily.
Yeah, they don't know how to do anything correct. And they're kind of
they're not even playing the songs at all. They're just playing on a CD.
And I thought it was a mistake. At first you could see it where like the bow was way off of the violin. And I was like, oh, they screwed up the scene. But then it turns out to be like actually the point. The point is they're not playing.
I thought the audio was screwed up because eventually the CD skips. Like, what the hell is going on with this stream? And I was like, oh no, it's actually going on in the movie.
Yeah. And then the old guy gets up because they're like, okay, jig's up. Like we're going to let you know. We're effing terrorists, get on the floor. And we get this whole scene with the old guy where it's like it becomes clear that he's a Holocaust survivor, and he's just like never again,
because they zoom in on his hand because he like grabs a table and pulls himself up and his number is on there. And I was like, what role is this gonna play in this movie?
Other than it just the only role it has is that it says like never again, and he like goes up and gets shot, and basically he's saying like he wasn't gonna go down with it. It doesn't matter how old he is, doesn't matter anything. He wasn't gonna go down without a fight. He wasn't gonna be taken captive ever again. So that was there
you go, man. Yeah. That's it, right?
And so then everyone's freaking out. The wife is like hysterical. The wife of the captain and the daughter are like hysterical as well. And Captain Lang gets up to the bridge, and he's like, what's going on here? Because no one's around, and someone comes out and like takes him hostage, right? At this point,
it's also the weakest looking bridge that we've seen in any movie. It is just like a bare room with, like if we were to make a really, I mean, just crappy set. We're like, oh, maybe we were hiding computers back behind here.
I'm just saying that is kind of what a bridge of a cruise ship probably looks like.
You think so? Come on.
Yeah, it's gonna be like blue. The end.
Yeah, you don't question Patrick about this. This is his job is actually designing bridges of boats. That's his entire thing.
Knew it. Yeah. Specifically cruise ships.
Cruise ship bridges of boats. It's like he's an architect, but specifically for bridges of boats.
Is this a yes and situation? No, I don't do any of this. I don't do any of these things. All right.
So anyways, he's taken captive, and then at the same time, somehow, because it's dinner time in Alaska, and then they're in a military tribunal, or at what time would it be? Like midnight, and they're in the middle of it. Skip Lang's giving his thing. He's basically like, I've made the right choice. I feel like I made the right choice, and there's times when you need to do this kind of stuff, and blah blah blah. And they're about to like hand down their decision, but they get a little note, and that note says, Captain Lang's needed. Delta Force is needed because there's only one team that can do what needs to be done, and it's them. They're at the top of the effing list.
Yeah. This was also the scene in which, and I've mentioned this to you previously, it was the best thing ever. They have an American flag hanging in the background of the court-martial scene. And I only noticed it right at the end of it. But I was sitting there being like, that's a really wide flag. For some reason, I was like, why is the flag so wide? I don't understand. And then I started counting the stripes, and there was like 18 of them or something. There's like way too many. And I was staring at it like, is it just like a bed sheet that some PA had to like paint? Up. Like, I don't understand how it happened. I don't understand how, because later on there's another scene where there is a real American flag. So I don't understand.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
Crazy.
It is a mystery that I will solve someday.
Yeah. I did forget to mention, also interspliced with all of this was the submarine being hijacked by our main guy, my main man.
Did you notice what sub it was?
No.
It's the Kursk.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, so it's basically it's a Russian sub. They keep on mentioning it's the Kursk. It seems like they're on their way to kind of be like decommissioned or something. It's like something's happening with the Kursk, and so part of the crew decides, the Kursk won't go down without a fight, and kind of won't. They're not gonna go out like this. We're gonna have it go out like in glory, kind of. And so there's a mutiny. They take over, and one of the people that. The kind of the guy who's like organizing everything is Lukash. We learned that they know him in America because he's a badass, and probably he has a bunch of best-selling books, and we'll learn about that later. Probably he's just like an international celebrity.
It's a quirk of the 80s and 90s when you could be an international celebrity terrorist. You'll go on television, everyone's like, whoa, Lukash, what's happening now?
He's still alive? It's like, they're literally like, whoa, I didn't even know he was still around. He's like a rock star. It's like, whoa, he hasn't died yet? Whoa.
He's like driving through the streets, people are waving at him. What's up, Lukash?
Fucking Lukash. Yeah. And so he's just crushing it on this boat at this point. And he's in communication with a cruise ship. So the guy on the cruise ship is kind of talking to him, and the entire plan. Do you want to explain what the plan is, Patrick?
Sure. Basically, the only reason why they need Captain Lang is turns out he's much like Mozart, he is a submarine prodigy. And he retired from submarining for reasons. Because his son died.
Right.
His son died in war.
Yeah.
Not Skip's brother. He died. And it kind of made him, he had a fit of ennui and became dissatisfied with his life as a submariner, because I'm sure it's a very lonely existence for a family man. So he basically like decided, I'll just do cruise ships instead. I'll like do a little choir thing. And yeah, so he's kind of like cruising around on this cruise ship, but it turns out he's one of the best submariners in the world. So that's why Lukash needs him, is they've taken out the captain, but they need like a person who can defend the Kursk against the enemy subs that are going to come attack them.
Yeah. So to give it, so they're gonna use the cruise ship as also like a little bit of a shield.
That's right as well.
Yeah. So using that, they need Lang. They're also going to use the cruise ship as a shield, because you can't really attack the submarine without sinking the cruise ship. So you don't want, basically they just hide underneath it, and no one can come. They can't even really torpedo them, because the explosion would sink and kill how many people on this boat? Over 3,000, baby. I'm like, whoa, that's a big boat. That's a big ship.
Lukash doesn't deal with small potatoes.
No. And so, and just to kind of extend that metaphor, so basically what's happened here is Skip Lang is Captain Lang of the submarine, Captain Lang, he is more or less like the LeBron James of submarines, right?
Yes.
And then it'd be as if LeBron James Jr., Bronny, didn't play basketball, but instead decided, I'm going to go play football. And LeBron James was like, that's a little bit of dangerous sport, bro. And Bronny was like, no, I'm going to play tight end for the Browns. I'm going to get a Super Bowl. And he does. They win actually 6 Super Bowls in a row. He's like the best. But then his little brother also goes into football and gets killed on the field. And this is like this. What I'm saying, we're just extending this metaphor out. And so then LeBron James obviously would be like, "Yo, Bronny, you let him into football. Like, we could have been playing safe basketball over here, just like living on our submarine basketball court." And so they have like a little.
That's exactly how it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah, I guess they
basically
heads, yeah.
Skip tells the other boys in the ODF that exact scenario.
Mm-hmm.
He says that's why we got bad blood.
Yeah, he's like, just we don't
LeBron,
talk. But yeah,
my dad.
Yeah, we love each other, but we just don't talk right now, and it's because of this like issue we have with what happened to my bro. And they're like, "Whoa, that's a lot of drama. That's a little TNT in his drama."
Yeah. So something that amazed me here in this movie is like the ODF is on the way to the cruise ship, and I was like, man, how are they going to get on this thing? You know, like it's out in the middle of nowhere, and then. Like with literally no resistance, they fly a helicopter, land, like, and then just get out of the ship. Like nobody even shoots at them, not once. And people are like, I think a helicopter just landed on the ship, so maybe you should go check it out.
Yeah, if you love this part, you'll love the third movie.
Okay, because I was like, literally, that was like a lot easier than I ever thought it would be.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, they basically what turns out is, and it may even be realistic. What it turns out to be, and kind of the message of a lot of these movies is like. The terrorists aren't very good at what they're doing in terms of handling these large machineries. Like they're not trained on it, so they don't really know what's going on. And so, like on the ship, they're like,
like a helicopter.
They're like, wait, is that a helicopter? And they're like, oh shit.
They're probably just bringing more liquor for the bar. Yeah, okay.
That's how a cruise ship works. And so then they land on it and just like blow everyone away. Like it literally takes no time. And Operation Delta I keep calling Operation Delta Force. Delta Force just runs through the ship and takes over everything, kills the main bad guys on the ship. And Lukash is on the submarine being like, yo, guys, yo, you there? And they're no answer. And he's like, God damn it. Like no one's as good as me. And I should have been up there, but also down here. Like this sucks. So basically, they take over the cruise ship. They free everyone. They veer it off course, and the submarine has to like go on its merry way and go kind of like to phase 2 of the plan instead of using the cruise ship as like a shield the whole time.
Yeah. So initially, basically, Lukash is like threatening the admirals, whoever is like kind of in HQ, U.S. HQ at the Pentagon, and he's basically like, I'm going to blow up this cruise ship if you try to do anything. Once they do anything, he's just basically like, blow up the cruise ship. And the captain's like, if you don't blow up the cruise ship, I will just willingly like commandeer this boat, like command this boat. And he's like, deal. So that's why they just kind of like then just veer off course. Is they're just like, F it. We don't need this thing anymore. It's just going to be a problem. So.
And I think at this point there's like an hour left in the movie, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was something like crazy long. I thought, okay, they've taken over back the cruise ship. Like we're gonna be wrapping this up. Not a chance.
Well, it gets kind of strange here at this point too, because they're kind of going along on the ship, and at one point they're like, he's like talking to his navigator, Lukash, and and he's like, "Is this the fastest way to go?" And the navigator's like, "Well, there's this other way we could go, but like it's pretty shallow, and they'd probably see it.
And it's scary."
And the captain was like. And he turns to like the Captain Lang and is like, "Yo, would you go this way?" And the captain's like, "Yeah, get us there faster." And Lukash is like, "We're doing that." And they go, and I'm like, "Oh man, what a trick by Captain Lang to get them seen." Right. Nope.
He just nails it.
Nope. Works. Now just go straight to the base that they're going, because we also hear that it turns out that part of the whole plan, very much in like a hunter-killer type scenario, is that there's a base in Russia that's been taken over by rebels. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the plan, is that they're going to go down there. Those rebels are part of Lukash's whole plan. Basically, they're going to go over there and start loading up some missiles in order to threaten, because this is the larger plan. The whole plan is to get sweet cash, because that's what Lukash cares about. 2 things, Patrick. What are those 2 things?
Cash.
Yep.
And literature, classics.
Yes, exactly. You
Renaissance
nailed it. That's what it is. It's all. Yeah. He's a huge fan of the poet. And of course, when I say the poet,
bard, you mean
the bard. Well, he calls him the poet at one point. I was using Luke Cash's words.
That's embarrassing.
He calls him the poet, William Shakespeare, and he's reciting things left and right, all about poetry and the bard and whatever. And Kyle, forget that. We don't need that alarm. Like we're going through this.
We're going over. I know we're going over.
We're going through this at our own pace. And so, anyways, he wants that straight cash. He's basically threatening the world. He needs $25 billion in exchange for not blowing up everything.
Easy to get.
It actually is. I don't see why they just wouldn't pay it, but it's just money.
Well, he's like, all right, I'm going to blow up the West Coast and I'm going to blow up Russia. And they're probably like, well, you can do one or two of those things. We'll be fine.
That's what I think. What
if we give you half?
I don't think he's a Russian terrorist. I think he was working with Russian terrorists, but he is a celebrity terrorist for hire. Much like Nick Cage in Face Off. He's that celebrity terrorist.
He was a celeb. Yeah, that's
great.
You hire out.
Yeah. So anyways, they're sitting in the space. They're getting stuff loaded up. They're just like kind of hanging there. And so that's when Lukash kind of like sends out his like communication. And so the government goes back to Delta Force and is like, we have other people who could potentially do this. You're kind of the closest and also you're the best. We need you to do that. They're talking about like getting ladies, getting laid and paid. They're all ready to go. But then
they're going to Hawaii.
Oh, they're going to go to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. They're going to go to Pearl Harbor. But then they're told, yo, we're going straight from Alaska to this Russian base. So best be prepared. And everyone's immediately jazzed. They're like, oh, fucking love it. And they get on this plane and off they go to go do it. And this is actually where I felt like this portion of it was particularly slow and just very, very odd, like addition to it. Cause there's so much action in reality for this whole thing. They get in a boat and they're kind of like riding around, the harbor where these rebels are. And my God, are they riding around forever? Like they're really in this boat for so heaven long. And then they go like, at one point they dive, oh, there's a net and it's got like mines on it. And they have to go down and they dive down and they have to fight frogmen while doing it. And like, it takes a really long time. And while I enjoy all of that, it's just like they were literally like painstakingly taking off these mines from this net and battling frogmen for a really long time. You talk about there being an hour left in the movie. A huge portion of it is them just infiltrating the base.
Dude, and also when they're infiltrating this base and they're, quote unquote, sneaking in, they're not moving. No. I mean, quietly. No. They're flying around on these boats. Even times there's like lights
they got lights
over
them
from the towers. And I thought, how? It's just like the helicopter. How is nobody stopping this?
I don't know. The third one gets it again. The third one is even crazier in this regard.
I can't wait.
They're like flying around in boats where they're just like, I hope they don't see us. I'm like, everyone can see you. What are you talking about? You're like just flying around a river on a boat. It's like it's got a motor. Like it's very loud. And so what happens here at this point?
How do they get inside the submarine? I can't remember.
Remember they dive. They go. They
storm the base.
Yeah. They storm the base. They kind of split up. At one point, they're kind of like going around, blowing all kinds of stuff. They're like flying around in wires. They're shooting people while doing that. Lukash is around, and they actually corner him. And he has like a hilarious little scene where they're like, "Put down your gun, Lukash," and he's like, "All right, I'm putting down my gun." And then all of a sudden he's like, but sake? And he like turns around and shoots one of the guys and then runs away. And they're just like, you guys are idiots. Like, he didn't even do anything. It's not even have like a hidden gun. He just like stopped putting down his gun and shot you. And so he runs away. He shoots like actually a number of people. He shoots one guy and like the doctor has to stay behind, and not go on the submarine because he has to take care of a guy shot in the neck. And he's got to like take care of him. Yeah. The virgin. The
virgin took one in the neck.
He's got
the way you want to do things.
No, generally not the case. Yeah, that's not quite as good as having sex, probably.
Hold on, I'm going to take a bullet. Just put it in my neck.
Right. And so, but then they're like, okay, stay behind. And then like 4 of them, I think, zoom up onto the submarine, which is kind of great, and then slide into the missile holes as they're closing. And like that's how they get into the submarine.
It is quite impressive.
It's very impressive. So anyways, now they're on there. Lukash is feeling like he's sitting kind of pretty, I think, at this point. Wouldn't you say? He's kind of like, at this point, he's like, originally he was kind of quoting poetry here and there. He ratchets that up like every other scene. He's like espousing. At one point, and both me and Patrick realized this. He says a poem, and I was like, that doesn't. It's like because it has like nukes in it. He's like, oh, and then it gets as cold as winter. And like,
you want me to read it?
Yeah, read it. Go ahead, read that one.
Okay, it's this is, I believe, a Lukash original. Petition the Lord with prayer, or bribe him with gold. For I am the Lord now, and nuclear winters are cold.
Yeah. So that one's. So he's been saying poems. At that point, I was just like, did he make that one up? And then you search, and you're like, yeah, that's a Lukash original. Like that's straight up in his book of poetry. Yeah.
That books for sale on Amazon for $9.95.
So throughout this movie,
the first book I'm going to release is going to be Lukash's poetry.
Yeah, Lukash original. That's a great title too. Lukash original. But like I was telling Patrick, like he's been kind of quoting Shakespeare and some other authors throughout this movie, and I felt like this was the moment where he went from student to master. Because he basically said, "I'm leaving Shakespeare in the dust. I'm ready for my own thing." And he throws out his own poetry, and then he puts poetry in motion as he gets the submarine kind of underway.
He really does, man.
Did you have the rap battle in your cut? No.
No and.
I had a slam poetry contest at the end.
Right.
That'd be great.
For like the outtakes.
So I am forgetting a little bit of exactly how everything happens on the submarine at this point. Can someone else help fill me in on this one?
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh.
So basically, my notes have already ended. But
exactly. Everyone's notes, I think, at this point, we're just enjoying the action.
Because there's just so much action going on. You're like, okay, eventually they do just take back the sub.
I do remember them releasing all the prisoners, right? They find the prisoners and they release them.
They find the Russian captain.
Right. And the captain comes out and with, yeah. Okay, so here it is. Captain Lang at one point, the other Captain Lang, the older Captain Lang, he kind of like runs away. Like he's like, watch this. And he like throws something in the air and like runs away. Get out of here. And
he's really funny. It's really funny.
He flips his lucky coin up and he's like, catch that. And then he runs away.
Well, he just literally just at one point, he's like, look over there. And he like runs away. And Lukash is like, God damn it. Because now he's got two Captain Langs like running around all over the place. They go out and they start to like mess with the missile launching.
Right.
So they go over and they pull the key out of the launch. And Lang kind of like shit talks his son at this point. Because he's like, this is what you learn when you're on an effing submarine. Bro, you can stop World War III or 4 or 5. By pulling the pin out, because I know where the thing is. And he's like, Dad, guess who's here to save your ass? I am. So how about you respect Delta Force 2? And then they look at each other in the eyes, and there's like that mutual respect. There's like a twinkle of mutual respect at that point. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you got to protect this area with your life, because guess what? This is the only, if they can destroy this area, it goes back to there and they can launch the missile. And it's like, okay. And so Delta Force Lang is there and he's going to defend their house. Right.
Yep. And Lukash is running around at this point. Because
he's all over the place. At this point, he keeps on getting like shot or like whatever. At one point, he's thrown from like a balcony, which is always hilarious on these submarines when he's thrown like 3 stories down. And you think he's died at that point. They're like, oh, thank God, that Lukash. Like, we don't have to worry about him anymore. He's dead on that ground. Look at him and like got blood out of his mouth.
And
so
much like,
worry about him at all.
Much like Michael Myers, he just rotates up.
Yeah, he just keeps on getting up, keeps on getting up all over the place. And it's funny because he's always like hanging around. Like at one point, someone goes around like, I wonder if anyone's around here. No, everything looks pretty clear. And then they just like pan up, and there's Lukash like in the ceiling, like, shit. like, whoa, he's become like a monster at this point. He truly is like a Michael Myers or Jason type character at this point. He just keeps on coming and coming, never stopping.
Should have kept him alive. They put him in jail.
I would love that. They should have kept him in
a glass prison on a pedestal.
Yeah. And so, anyways, they eventually do kill him during the last confrontation. The 2 captains kind of take over the submarine, and they have to do a little trickery, right? Because everyone's not really sure on the Russian side of things on whether the submarine is going to launch missiles or not. So like another submarine's there and they're like, we just got to go for it. And so they start launching missiles. There's a lot of evasive action. And then I'm not really sure how they indicate to the submarine that everything's okay. They just kind of like blow their ballasts and then they go to the surface. And so then the Russians know. Yeah, but then again,
it's like waving away flag. They were saying like, we're going to just show everybody where we are so we couldn't possibly be an enemy.
Launching nukes, you also have to kind of go to the surface.
Oh, plausible.
Right? Isn't that right, Kyle?
You got to be, you know, within a certain depth. Yeah.
Right.
So if you were to dive really deep.
So if they were going to, yeah, exactly.
It'd
If
be
they were going to
fine.
dive, if they were
They'd
going
be
to
like,
dive
okay,
really
they're not
deep, then
gonna
they
do
know they're not
anything.
going to launch missiles. But here they're going up to the surface. I'd be sitting in the Russian boat being like, are they going up to launch missiles or are they just going up there to what? What's going on? And of course you would go up there and see they like open the hatch and shit, but
Yeah.
I have much to learn because that did not even occur to me.
yeah, I don't know. I just didn't know.
Come
like,
on, Patrick.
Sometimes there's things that happen in these movies where I just don't really know the thought process. Because once they blow the ballast, everyone in the Russian sub's like, "Oh, whew, right, man, guys, right, yeah, right," and everyone's like, "Yeah, thank God." And then that's pretty much the end of the movie. I think we get a scene of him greeting his like mom and his sister, and they're like, "Hey," or something. I don't know. That may have been earlier, but. That pretty much is the end, I believe. And then we see one last, there's a cutscene after the end of the movie where we see Lukash still on the submarine and he rises from the dead. He's like, at this point, he's like full on zombie and you see a zombie dick because that just indicates to you that he's still the captain of the boat and you ain't getting rid of him. Not now, not ever. Lukash.
Every single time I laugh at your dick jokes, and I hate them so much. It's just
They're
so
bad,
funny.
right? Yeah,
Really bad.
And lately I've been really forgetting about them until the very, very end, and then I just make up something stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such is life. All right.
Such is life.
So now ratings. Kyle, what'd you think of this guy?
All right. When I flipped this movie on, I was like, I know the type of movies that Jamie likes. So I knew what to expect. But with this movie, it being a TV movie, I think this is like the quintessential TV movie. It's just like straight action. You can sit down and watch it and not even really pay attention because it's just action upon action upon action. And I'm glad you actually mentioned Hunter Killer in this because the whole time I thought, wow, if this had a very large budget, I imagine it could be like Hunter Killer, you know, in that same vein.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting
SEAL
that
team
Hunter
out there
Killer,
doing their stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting that Hunter Killer was made as it seems like it was almost an attempt.
I thought you were just going to
No. It
made.
made into the size that it was because it does seem like this a very, very similar to a movie to these ones that I've been watching a lot of lately from like the 90s and the early 2000s, where to put a huge budget on them seems crazy, but they seem to have done that with things like Geostorm and Hunter Killer, all Gerard Butler vehicles.
Right. Well, yeah,
just
and
seems
you
crazy,
get him
yeah.
and you get like Gary Oldman, and it's just like, okay, I mean, you're getting these really big names to come in and do these movies, but
In fact, Patrick, wouldn't you say that Geostorm was very similar to, what was that one, Fallout?
The one with the space station? It's extremely similar. It's almost identical.
Yeah.
I think if I were to
And then
pose a
this
positive
is
theory,
very similar to Hunter Killer. So it almost like Gerard Butler's going back through the 90s catalog of TV movies.
it's probably what he's doing.
And just
he's
making
doing it as just
big
like a
budget
joke.
versions
He's
of it.
trolling everybody.
I have a theory. Basically, there's like a post-irony. We're kind of like in this weird post-irony stage of movie watching, it seems, where they're releasing things that are like Fast and the Furious 25. They have a submarine and they're racing it, and everyone's like, "Cool, yeah, no, I'm done. I'm gonna go watch that at family. You know, it's gonna be fine." And I think this is like one of those things where they're actually trying to release direct-to-video films as like big budget films and be like, "Will you just watch this? It's mindless garbage." And people haven't quite accepted Gerard Butler as the vehicle. Vin Diesel, yes. Gerard Butler, no. Like you are not the one.
So you're saying Operation Delta, they should make an Operation Delta Force, but with Vin Diesel in the Fahey role.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fahey should be the admiral.
Yeah, and then would we say The Rock is Ernie Hudson? What are we thinking?
Ooh,
They don't really work together. They don't work together anymore, though.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, they don't really like each other.
Who would be like a good, super strong scientist? Like an amusingly super strong scientist. Yeah, we should probably get back to reviews.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, the action was nonstop. I think, you know, when they went into Iraq, I mean, that was just 16 minutes of just crazy action. Although there was this one scene that blew my mind. So the Operation Delta Force helicopter was flying in. And I mean, maybe they're 20 feet away from this giant minigun that the Delta Force commandeers later. And that gun is just shooting at them.
Going crazy.
Going nuts. Cannot hit them at all.
Not a single time.
I mean, it's pointed directly at them, and I'm like,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they'd at least catch one.
This is a theme with Operation Delta Force, because in the third
They
one they're on
are
a boat
literally
where
invincible.
they are surrounded by people, all shooting machine guns at them, and none of them get hit. Not a single time. It's not even this boat that they're like 50 feet away from. No one hits them.
It's amazing. They are invincible, and that's why they're called upon to do all these types of things. We had a lot of sub action in here. We didn't even really mention all of it that was going on, but there were other subs that kept being brought into the fold, and we had, countermeasures and torpedoes launched and that type of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Fish in the water for sure.
Yeah.
There was even a wrench. Wasn't there a wrench at one point? Oh, yeah, because when he was going to defend that area, didn't Lang pick up a wrench? Like specifically go and grab a wrench?
I think he may have.
Yeah. I may be thinking of Operation Delta Force 3, but that's going to happen.
And so, I mean, this movie, for what it is, for TV movie, pretty darn watchable. I was going to say good, but I'll use the word watchable. I'm going to go ahead and give it I gave Hunter Killer a 6.5, so I'm not going to go that high, but I'll give this like a 5. Put it in the middle.
Very good.
Nice.
Patrick, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I was trying to, I've been very off on my ratings, I feel like, mainly because I listen to all the episodes, obviously, sometimes multiple times, specifically the Iron Man episode. But I still don't quite have a sense of like submarine films because I don't watch the films before listening to the podcast. So I tried to make a new scale for myself. So the new scale is I rate it on one scale from boring to exciting. Mm-hmm. And then on another one from lots of submarines to there is no submarine in this film.
Interesting.
And then final one of low quality to high quality film. So on one hand, you'd have like Hunter Killer, high quality submarine action, but kind of boring. So anyways, that gives you like a nice little cube. And then I was trying to like figure everything out. So to me, it was like a 7.0 exciting. I kept on bumping it up. I literally started at like 5.0, and then I kept on just changing the number until it was at 7 because he just kept on saying like literature quotes from Shakespeare. And I just kept on getting more and more amused by this bad guy who is such a good bad guy. I was just so happy that I had found this person in my life. And so I kept on bumping it up. So I finally gave it a 7.0, which I translated into add 1 point to your initial rating. And then I say the submarine action is this is on a 10 scale, is an easy 6, 7. There's a lot of stuff in Iraq in the beginning, and there's a lot of the court-martial bullshit, and there's a lot of cruise ship. But 6 submarine, that's good. And then as like an actual quality film, because we've seen some real trash on this podcast, and I've watched a lot of trash in my day. So I gave it a 4.0 in quality, and that all translates with my mathematical brain into a 5.5. So I was quite pleased to hear that you gave it a 5. Was that right, Kyle?
I did.
Yes. So 5.5.
All factors you're looking at, are they equally weighted, or do you give more weight to different ones?
No, I start with a quality rating, which in this case was a 4. I would have given if nothing else, if it was just like middling submarine-ness and it was just kind of like a middling movie, I would have given it a 4.0. But then I bumped it up 1.5 because it had good submarine action and was an exciting film I would absolutely watch again. Yes.
It's funny that you guys all landed in that spot because I was going kind of the same route with this. Originally, I was like, I'm coming in at a 5. I'm coming in hot because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. Way better quality than you'd expect from something called Operation Delta Force 2: Mayday. The first one was already good, but actually a little more boring than this one, I would say. This one was kind of dialed everything up a little bit. I think it was a little less serious about itself than the first one. The first one maybe had some aspirations to be potentially released to theaters, but then ended up being on TV. This one seemed to be, solidly in the area of we're either going to video or we're going to TV. That's about it. And so they kind of went a little nuts with a lot of the stuff. And so I was just enjoying myself. And then with a lot of these films, just like Steel Sharks and stuff like that, I sit there and I go, this is kind of hilarious. I'm having fun watching this. But there's also got to be that extra little like factor to it. And with Steel Sharks, it was the magic coin, which it tickled me and I loved it. And it was just like so funny that they even had it as a thing because it's so stupid and like such like a cliche kind of like garbage thing. And it was there and it distracted someone. And just everything about it was so great. And here we have Lukash, and my God, I'm in love. Like the character is like one of my favorite characters of any of the films we've watched for Submersion. He is so funny and so crazy, and just kept on quoting all this stuff. And he was eating up the scenery, just chewing, eating up the scenery everywhere. And I don't know. I loved him. He was like the way he talked, the way he chomped on like cigars, the way he did everything. I just wanted to know I immediately wanted to be like, what other movies has this person been in? Because it's time for the Lukash cast, where we just watch movies with him. Yeah, the Lucast, where we just watch movies with him in it. Because I loved it. So he was kind of the magic coin for this one, taking it from where I would originally come in, somewhere on like a 4.5, kind of like Steel Sharks, bump that guy up. And I was going to come in 5.5, same as you, Patrick.
Boom.
I couldn't quite do the 6. The 6 actually starts to be into the territory of, okay, these movies are actually good. And I can't lie and say this movie is actually good. It's not an actually good movie. But it's really fun to watch. Way more fun than I thought it was going to be. And I would argue, potentially, I haven't seen the last 2 in the series. I think probably the most fun of the series from what I've seen so far.
I will say I would have given it a 6 if it was wall-to-wall submarine action. I would have.
That's true. Yeah, that's actually one of the problems with, like, this one has a submarine on the poster. Third one has a submarine on the poster. Neither of them actually have as much submarine as you might think, given that what you see on the poster. But they have enough. I would say. Yeah. All right, we're gonna get a little trivia. So again, as often happens with movies like this, trivia is a little hard to come by because no one talks about these movies. In fact, there is no Wikipedia page for this movie. There's a Wikipedia page for the series.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, get on there.
We're going to do that.
And then the third,
you guys have to.
The craziest thing even, so each of them have like little blurbs. Like this one, for example, the blurb says, okay, Operation Delta Force 2. This section is empty. Not actually true. There is a little bit in the section. It says, with global safety at stake, Delta Force, the world's most elite combat unit, is called to eliminate a dangerous international criminal who threatens to unleash nuclear terror unless he receives $25 billion in exchange. This time, the adrenaline pumps twice as hard as a team turns up the heat with blistering action, thermonuclear suspense, and pulse-pounding excitement, ! And so they do give a little bit going on with this guy. But then the third one, totally empty. Nothing in that one. And then the fourth one and the fifth one get down to just being a single thing. Weirdly, only looks like only the fifth movie has its own Wikipedia page.
Yes, I think it's something to do with the straight to video. I think maybe the production company may have started doing that.
Maybe
it doesn't make any sense otherwise. It really doesn't. When you look at that Wikipedia page is a stub. It's nothing. It's just absolutely worthless.
The only thing I do know is the fifth one's supposed to be the most racist of the bunch, so maybe that's part of it as well. Actually, the poster even says Objective Bin Laden, so apparently it's about that. I don't know. So anyways, they're kind of hard to come by in terms of no one actually talks about them, which is surprising because the movies are better than I think a lot of the ones that people do talk about. But anyways, I kind of collected together some things. The bad guy is always chowing down the scenery by reciting some relevant poetry, and particularly seems quite a fan of William Shakespeare. In honor of Lukash, I will recite Ariel's song from The Tempest. You might just recognize it if you watch this movie, because he says it. Full fathom 5, thy father lies, of his bones a coral made. Those are pearls that were his eyes, nothing of him that doth fade, but doth suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. Sea nymphs hourly ring his knell, ding dong, hark, now I hear them, ding dong, bell. And so you may also recognize that.
Or just a snap? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you snap. And then, very nice. And then, yeah, that's enough. And then, and then full fathom. People who are fans of submarine films might even recognize that phrase, Full Fathom 5, which is actually a submarine movie, and we may just be watching it in the near future.
We might be.
This film is mentioned occasionally in some books. It was mentioned in the book Terrorism in American Cinema, along with the original. It's funnier though that they in Real Bad Arabs, which is a book that I've mentioned before. It kind of chronicles all the ways that Hollywood has kind of slandered Arabs throughout time, and this one is called out in it, but specifically the fifth one. And interestingly, this one and that one were the only two really mentioned all that much. Or sorry, this one and whatever, or the fifth one and one of the other ones. But the fifth one is the only other one also directed by the one who directed this guy, the guy who directed this one, Yossi Wine. So he directed this one and then the fifth one. And apparently the fifth one's like real crazy. It's about like mind control and stuff. It's like turning people into suicide bombers or something through hypnosis.
I too am interested in mind control.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of Steven Seagal, the 2001 Nas Steven Seagal film Ticker used footage from this film. And then the 2004 film Airstrike used explosion footage from this film.
Well, yes, obviously. It's amazing explosion footage, so.
Well, I would say also, I'm sure there are actually probably several movies that use the explosion footage from this film. I'd be surprised if there wasn't, 5 of them or something.
Yeah.
They spend the money, you're going to use those scenes. And it's not like you can recognize anyone running around there, and actors who could be anyone. The tagline for the film is twice the action, twice the adventure, twice the excitement, presumably in reference to the first movie. So Patrick, twice the action, yes or no?
I'm going to say no. No to twice the action.
Okay. You'd say, is he less than twice the action?
Same amount of action.
Same amount of action. Okay.
Yes.
Twice the adventure?
I think so, yes.
Okay, you say twice the action.
Adventure through Luke Cash's mind.
Right. What about twice the excitement?
Yes. Again, yes. I do think it is actually genuinely the first one is genuinely, I think, kind of boring. I just think there was enough explosions, enough action in the first one to kind of match. It's just the kind of excitement and the adventure that it was really missing.
Definitely excited me twice as much, if you know what I mean.
Whoa.
So this
Picking up what you're putting down.
Submarine Terror in Norway, which I thought was funny. It's called Submarine Terror. Also funny is the star of this film, Michael McGrady. He's a Wikipedia page, but instead of listing the movies he's in, he has a section that's just called Selected 21st Century Filmography. So they don't list all the movies, just the selected 21st century filmography. Okay. So what other actors from his selected 21st century filmography would have done well in this film? How about Steven Seagal, Half Past Dead?
Yes.
Yeah, of course he would do great. He would be the leader of the Delta Force.
Okay, good. Because I was going to say, if you're replacing Luke Cash, I'm out of here.
I am not. And not by Steven Seagal.
Yeah. What about the Keech? Stacy Keech in Ring of Death.
I don't know who that is. But
you don't know who Stacy Keech is? They're talking about Keech and Keech and the Gang.
Okay. I'm going to...
He's also mentioned multiple times in Seinfeld.
What, Keech?
Yes.
You're talking about the Keech?
Oh, I'm talking about the Keech. But I don't know that I've ever seen him in anything. So.
We have watched him for this podcast, but that's okay. He was in that one where they were trapped on the bottom of the ocean.
Escape from L.A.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He was in Escape from L.A., and he was also in the one where there was the submarine trapped off the coast of Connecticut.
What about the second-hand man on the cruise ship?
Yeah, I think second-hand man, or he could be like in headquarters. You know how there's all those old people in headquarters?
Yeah.
Kind of like talking about stuff and like smoking cigarettes. What about John Goodman? He was in The Babe, which is funny because it's not even from the 21st century. So I'm not sure why it was in the select 21st century filmography of his.
He's obviously the father, the captain.
Oh, good one. I like that one. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That would be good.
What about Nick Cage? So he's in 2 movies with Nick Cage, Frozen Ground and Rage.
Rage Cage. See, you want him to be Luke Cash, don't you? You want him to do it. Maybe he can be Luke Cash's older.
He's got that crazy element.
Wait, excuse me. Yeah. But I'm thinking Operation Delta Force 2, whatever, Cage Rage. Right at the end, Luke Cash is in the hospital, like jailed up, and his brother comes in, and that's Nick Cage. He's Luke Cash's brother, and they're going to team up to take on the Delta Force.
I like that. I also like just like a pure reboot or a remake where he's the new Luke Cash, and because that's what they say. They talk about Nick Cage as this generation's Luke Cash. Like that's how he's referred to.
What about this? A prequel just called Luke Cash.
Nice.
And it's about the rise of Luke Cash. He's the hero.
Yeah. It's weird.
I think
because
that's the movie of it, or that's the name right there, right?
Yeah.
The Rise of Lukash. Come on. That's too good.
And then finally, what about Ed Harris? So he appeared with Ed Harris, I'm talking about Michael McGrady, in a movie called Monster Cop, and it's about a monster man who's also a cop. And so Michael McGrady, he played the titular monster cop, and he's a monster and a cop. So Ed Harris plays his estranged father, who blames Monster Cop for the death of his other son. His other son also wanted to be a monster cop, but died as a result of trying to reach the necessary proportions of being a monster cop. So he's like, if you didn't lead him down that path of life of being a monster cop, then he would have died. But Monster Cop is like, you don't understand that. I didn't become a monster cop. I always was a monster cop, right? And it's all very touching. And in the end, Monster Cop rips a horse in half. That's the end of that. And it actually turns out, do you know who turns out to be the bad guy in that?
The Monster Cop?
No,
Yeah, so it turns out he's the culprit himself. And it's usually the end of the Monster Cop series is usually him finding out that he's actually the person who did the thing. Because he's a monster cop.
He's a monster cop.
I don't really know. I was just so zoned out. I just heard Monster Cop like 45 times.
Yep.
And then you ripped a horse in half. That's about what I took away. Well, but I would put Ed Harris in
You put Ed Harris somewhere in here. That's the point.
Yeah, I couldn't tell whether
he's
you
Michael
would get
McGrady.
angry. You always get angry at me when I suggest he's like the janitor or something. Or like the submarine.
No, that's fine. As long as he's a serial killer janitor.
Okay. I don't know he's too small apart. He's not a small potatoes guy. He's a big potato
But he could have been,
he's a big potato man.
Couldn't he been Lang, like the dad Lang?
Yeah, I would make him
sure. But didn't we already make Goodman that? Maybe we make Goodman the Russian captain. He can get the bit roll. Boom, boom. Like that.
Yeah,
I'd make him the virgin, and people be like, wait, you're a virgin? They're like, how? Like, I don't know, man. I
like
just don't know.
I do like the idea also that we've cast Steven Seagal as the main character, and then Ed Harris as his dad.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it works.
I want it to be Steven Seagal now. Like when he's in that, whatever, that karate tournament or whatever, where it looks like he just doesn't give a shit about what's going on. That's the Seagal I want leading the Delta Force.
All right. So, do you want to hear my Phantom Zone?
Engage the Phantom.
Phantom's engaged, sir.
Do you know who was also in a little Ed Harris film called The Abyss?
No.
Lukash.
Lukash was.
Right, Lukash was.
I looked him up.
Yeah, he was DeMarco in The Abyss. So we have one step from this directly to an Ed Harris submarine film. And from there, we can obviously take sweet, sweet Ed Harris and ride him straight to Phantom.
Boom.
That's it. That's all you got. Yeah, don't need more about
amazing.
it. And that's using Lukash, my favorite actor in the world. Academy Award winning actor, Lukash.
Lukash. Yeah. If you ever see Lukash in the street, I can't wait for you to be like, oh my God, it's Lukash.
You're like, how do you know this?
Fanboy out.
Got a Lukash shirt.
No, I'm going to get you a Lukash shirt. Now thinking about it. Is there a Lukash shirt? Anyways. So I don't really have a game anymore because Jamie, you stole mine. Just to say.
Oh, wait, what? What was mine? What was yours?
Mine was going to be Lukash's poetry cafe, and I was going to go through all of his poems.
I only did one. I did Full Fathom 5, Life Father Lies.
I will still roll through the other three. So the opening one, of which he said the lines, "For sweetest things turn sourest by their deeds. Lilies that fester smell far worse than weeds." And that is, of course, by the bard himself. That is sonnet number 94. And according to SparkNotes, it is a very difficult sonnet. So we know that Lukash is a very educated man because not only has he memorized this, he also surely understands this and can deploy it against his enemies at will, which is quite impressive. So that's the first one. He busted that one out first. He goes for the hits to start. Thank you.
Oh.
After that, he busted out a little bit of an interesting one, which was Dulce et Decorum by T.P. Cameron Wilson, who was a poet who died in World War I. Basically, he wrote a lot of his poems like while he was on the front line in World War I, being like, I think I'm going to die, and sending him home. And so this one, I'll just read the fourth kind of verse in it. because that was what he sampled from. Just, you snatched the sword and answered as you went, for fear your eager feet should be outrun, and with the flame of your bright youth unspent, went shouting up the pathway to the sun. O valiant dead, take comfort where you lie, so sweet to live, magnificent to die. That's the one I think he uses it to inspire his troops, which makes sense. Magnificent to die.
You're all going to die.
Thank you. He then busted out, obviously, the Full Fathom 5 Ariel song, which was also by the Bard. It was from The Tempest. Scene 2, Act 1. And then finally, before busting out Lukash original, he had to do 4 hits, and then everyone said, give us an original Lukash, and that's when he busted it out. This one he did a nursery rhyme, which was by Christopher Morley, and it is, scuttle, scuttle, little roach, how you run when I approach, up above the pantry shelf, hastening to secrete yourself. He said...
Yeah, that was... So, hold on.
Thank you.
So I believe that was when he was...
rhyme?
When he was creeping up. That was when he was creeping up and they, like, looked up at him, right?
And he said, scuttle, scuttle, little roach. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is the Lukash. This is the classes education I think a lot of Americans now are missing. So now you can just watch this instead, really.
He truly is a protagonist.
Yes.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my word. Is that it? That's it for Poetry Cafe?
Yes, that was the Poetry Cafe. I kept it short and sweet.
You should have done a Patrick original at the end where you wrote a poem about Lukash.
Yeah, and then see if we could have like figured out, wait, was that actually...
Well, it would be, because it would have just been like, Lukash, so strong and lean. They say
Lukash, so mean?
You're nice, I say you're mean, or something.
Oh, nice.
Or say, I say you're nice, they say you're mean.
Lukash, terrorist. That's my thought. Thank you.
Terrorist, inspiring terror or terror, right?
Yeah, this is all very much, so I married an axe murderer. Let's go. Right. All right, are we doing a summary one?
It's world wide. Yes, we are doing a sub one, and in this film, all kinds of subs like randomly started showing up. Something that should also be noted: the Kursk. I want to say they referred to it as a Typhoon class in the movie.
Well,
it's not actually a Typhoon class sub.
Well, so they first refer to it as a Gremica class or something?
Yes.
Yeah. And then they say it's a Typhoon class, and I said, bullshit, you just said it was a Gremica class. So
right, but it's actually an Oscar class.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the one problem ends up being that everything has 2 names, because like the Russians have their own class names.
Yeah.
And then we have the NATO class names for all the Russian submarines as well.
And
could have been right.
Good pickup, Jamie, because that will come into play here in just a second. So, about an hour and a half into this hour, 48-minute movie, we get a new set of characters on a new sub, the SK-587, and it is a Russian Sierra class by the NATO name. Russia, they refer to it as the Barracuda class. So kudos to you, Jamie.
Thank you.
No, I don't like it.
No, thank you. Thank you. These were built from 1979 to 1992. There are 4 currently in service, although one more was actually planned to be made, but it was canceled. And of the 4 in service, 2 of them are currently maybe undergoing modernization. But Russia keeps a lid on things, so it's kind of hard to tell. Yeah. Who really knows? So they've been in service from 1984 until now. Well, I mean, they're still presently in service. One thing about these that is very special is the hull is completely made out of titanium, which makes them very light and very strong. So for length, they have 352. They're 352 feet long. They have a beam of 40 feet. While cruising along, they can go 10 knots on the surface. 34 submerged for the Sierra 1, class. There's 2 of those, and 32 for the Sierra 2 class. They are nuclear powered. For depth, I could not find any, like, again, it's Russia. I couldn't find anything that like said this is absolutely it. But there was some website when I was Googling this called nationalinterest.org. They have an article, "The Best Submarine You've Never Heard Of. Meet Russia's Deadly Sierra-class submarine." From May of 2019, says that this can go down to 2,000 feet.
Whoa.
And this same article also said that the sub is 4 million pounds lighter than the Akula class, although it's 10 feet shorter, but due to that titanium hull, 4 million pounds lighter, which I can't even like imagine. You know, it's hard to put that into perspective. It holds 61 crewmen or women, I guess. For weapons, it has 8 torpedo tubes. 4 of them are the 21-inch torpedo tubes, which are also referred to over there, 533 millimeter. But then they also have 4 650 millimeter torpedo tubes. I don't know why you would want different sizes, because if you think about it, when you got to load ammunition and different torpedoes, wouldn't you just like them to all be the same? Apparently not. I don't know.
I want them all different.
All different. So you're like, we can hold one of each.
Yeah. You got to load them. You got to have individual torpedoes for every single torpedo tube.
Mm-hmm. That's really good,
Mm-hmm.
Especially
then you know which one to put it in.
Production lines and stuff. It's great.
Anyway, it just increases that chances of getting someone crushed by that torpedo, which is what we all want.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of torpedoes that could crush people because this boat holds 40 torpedoes.
Well, that's a lot of people crushed.
It's a lot. Figure at least 2 per torpedo. And that's the entire crew. They're all out of there.
They're all crushed by torpedoes. Other than the captain, he's up on the bridge.
Yeah.
He's taking the con. He's like, where is everyone?
Sir, they're all crushed. Damn it. Again? So as I mentioned, 2 of them are probably undergoing modernization right now. However, the cost to do this is very extreme. And this I thought was really funny. Just one of the names of the sub is the Carp. And I was like, oh, that doesn't really instill fear into your enemies. But this submarine actually, has a little bit of a history here. So it collided on February 11th, 1992, with a U.S. Los Angeles class submarine, the U.S. Baton Rouge, in the Barents Sea. And while it was being repaired, they renamed it the Crab with a K, which I thought was fun.
That is fun.
But later, they just switched it back for whatever reason.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Changing names left and right?
Yeah. I'm like, come on, the Crab's funny.
Yeah, the Crab is funny.
So the U.S. Navy actually said for a while, they said that, when they finally admitted, that this happened, they said that the collision took place in international waters. And initially the U.S. said that there was no damage done to the Baton Rouge. However, there was later revealed that there were like large gashes in the side of the submarine, and they had to take it out of commission. And this was actually the first U.S. Los Angeles class to be decommissioned. And with this incident, Russia viewed this as a victory. So the crew painted a 1 with a star on the side of the boat, because that's what the Soviets did during World War II to show the number of victories for their subs.
Disrespectful.
Weak.
It is. Pretty crazy though to run one sub into another, but
on purpose? Question mark.
I don't know. Freedom of Information Act request. Let's figure this out.
FOIA, Russia. FOIA. We have a FOIA request to you, Russia.
They're like, what?
They're like, what's FOIA?
Exactly. That's it, man. That's all I got for subs worldwide.
Well, that was great. It's been a while, Kyle, since you gave us one of those, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I know. Got your
tiny baby.
That's it. You guys got anything else?
Patrick, you have anything else? You have anything else?
Just in general?
Come on.
Just in
Anything.
life, like whatever you want.
No.
Thanks for listening to Submersion. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every Thursday. If you like what you heard, please leave us a rating on iTunes.